Here's the traitor, your majesty. Please, your omnipotence, have mercy.
Mercy.
It's time to talk about Disney. Again. Now, don't worry, I'm gonna be more constructive about it, but this is something I just felt I needed to do. As of the last couple years, it hasn't really been this much fun to dunk on Disney since Shrek, so yeah, that's the topic of today. As you may have noticed, Disney is in some hot water as of late, both due to their soulless live-action epidemic and their lack of creative decision-making in their standalone films. Now, I've already voiced my hatred for the live-action remakes and the overuse of meta-commentary as of late, so there's no need to reiterate that for the millionth time. And by the way, despite how I ended the Mario video, I don't actually plan on watching the live-action Moana they're gonna make soon, but maybe I will if I eventually decide to marathon every single remake they made thus far. Only so I can review them, of course, but anyway. Another thing I wanted to note is that, like, on the Elemental video that I did, which I was very surprised to find got a lot of, like, supportive comments and views, which, I'm gonna be real, I'm not used to. It's kind of flattering to see. There was one comment in particular that pointed out that, like, that a lot of people who point out the problem with, like, Disney, like, casting Ariel or Tinkerbell as Black in recent movies, some of them have a problem with it not because they hate minorities, but because, like, Disney's using it as a way to deflect criticism so they can accuse anyone who doesn't want to watch their movies as of late as being racist. And under that guise, no, you're absolutely right. Like, I wasn't trying to, like, necessarily defend Disney. I was just frustrated at all the people who just try to profit off of the hatred of the anger of people who just hate when minorities are represented. Like, I just wanted to make that clear to anyone who is watching, but that is actually something that I, as an autistic person, struggle with, is that, like, I could make my point pretty precise and clear, but the moment someone else makes a contrary point, but, like, it sounds vaguely reasonable in the slightest, then, like, I could, like, start to rethink what I believe. Someone makes a point that sounds reasonable when listening to it, and I start to agree with it, but then someone else tells me the opposite, and suddenly, like, it's... The only reason I'm bringing this up is because I don't think I did a good enough job expressing the autistic side of my analysis of Elemental, but this is definitely a relevant point for the topic of today's video, which is Raya and the Last Dragon. Most of you probably have not seen Raya and the Last Dragon, and that's most likely because it didn't have a theatrical release, instead being crammed into the Disney Plus box, never to be opened again. Until I decide to make this video, that is. So, here's what happens to get you up to speed. In an Asian-inspired medieval fantasy world, these demonic purple clouds known as the Drunes start turning everyone they touch into stone, until Sisu, the last dragon, seals them away with the power of her magic gemstone given to her by her family. Many years later, the region is split into 5 tribes, all named after different parts of Sisu, and 4 of them believing that the gemstones will bring them prosperity. The Heart Tribe, led by our main character Raya's father, invites the other tribes to a big party to break the misconception and establish world peace. During this party, she meets Namari, princess of the Fang tribe, who quickly befriends her over their obsession with dragons. She then gets betrayed by her new friend, who causes a mini-war in which the Drunes get released, turning many people, including Raya's father, into stone, and the world has gone dark. 7 years later, full-grown Raya encounters the last dragon herself, and together, with the help of a member of each tribe, they have to restore them before the Drunes turn everyone to stone. Okay, now that you're up to speed, let's get into it. I mean, Sisu can be annoying, but I'm gonna be real. I don't think she's as bad as everyone loves to say she is. Like, she has her annoying moments, but she's also got some genuinely pretty funny moments, and she's just like... And she just has some really genuine heartfelt moments, too. I mean, like, I can understand people's flawed logic, people saying that her logic is flawed because the people who put her trust in her, which empowered her in the first place, were her own family, so... And she's trying to apply that same logic to someone who not only she doesn't even know, but someone who has been antagonistic to Raya every single time. But, like, the thing is, like, I'm bringing up the autistic analysis because I think Sisu definitely comes off as a bit autistic in how desperately she wants to believe that people are good. And I can verify, as an autistic person, I definitely try to see the best in everyone. I try to believe that even if someone... So, like, Sisu being too trusting is definitely something that I relate to. Like, I have definitely had a lot of trust issues where I've made, like... Where, like, I've tried to open my heart to people who I thought were my friends before and too early, and because of that, I'd come off as super weird and off-putting, and I wouldn't make friends in college. It was a very lonely time, that is. Yeah, whatever. Anyway, and Namari. Just to be clear, I'm gonna try to be nice about it, as they did show us that she does actually care about fixing the world as much as Raya and her friends, but feels pressured by her mother to steal the gem pieces for herself. Like, yeah, that makes sense. Like, it's understandable that she wouldn't immediately drop her guard when Team Raya show up, even with Sisu saying that she trusts her. The problem is that, like, she tightens her grip on her crossbow as Sisu gets closer, making it literally impossible to sympathize with her going forward. And then, just to add insult to injury, after losing the fight to Raya, she then, instead of repenting, accuses Raya of being just as guilty as she was. Keep in mind, Namari was the one who pulled out the crossbow and tightened her grip. Yes, she, and I repeat, tightened her grip when given the opportunity to actually live up to her supposed remorseful side we saw earlier. She is literally in no position to throw away the blame. She broke the world once, and when given the opportunity to fix it, she broke it again. The ending, in my opinion, is without a doubt the worst part of the movie, because Raya gives Namari her gem piece first, blindly trusting that she'll do the right thing, and then the rest of the team does too. I mean, yes, she does do it, but also it was either this or get turned to stone like everyone else. Even if she had escaped, realistically, there were so many Drunes ravaging the planet at this point, there was really nowhere else she could have gone, and with all the water disappearing from killing Sisu, she would have just died from the lack of food and water anyway. So it's like, I'm pretty sure at least 90% of people, like everyone in the world, even the most evil people, would have restored the gem pieces in that scenario. But you know what? I think it's my turn to tell you about two other situations that I think were like tough decisions that actually like worked in their narratives. Let me talk to you about one of my favorite movies of all time, which I will later do an autistic analysis of. All Dogs Go to Heaven by Don Bluth and Gary Goldman. Now, I know some people have issues with this movie, but for all of its things, you've got to admit, this last scene, this ending scene is, in my opinion, the best scene in the movie. It's quite literally the exact opposite of Raya. My opinion of Raya is that it's a perfectly fine movie that gets completely ruined by its ending, while All Dogs Go to Heaven is just like an okay movie, but then is completely redeemed by the ending scene. Before Charlie goes back to heaven, literally the first thing his ghost does upon seeing unconscious Anne-Marie is apologize profusely for everything he's done to her, crying his eyes out as he believes that he doesn't deserve to be forgiven. That makes it even more heartwarming and heartbreaking when she does forgive him, when she wakes up soon afterwards and gives him one last goodbye hug before he disappears from her life once and for all. Now compare that to Namari, who did everything in her power to break the world, refused to help fix it, almost destroyed it for good, blamed her biggest victim for her terrible actions, and on top of that, never apologized for anything she did. When Charlie was being a manipulative jerk, he was only affecting 3 other people at most, one of which is the villain who killed him. He wasn't literally dooming the whole world. You could say her fixing the gem piece in the end before getting turned to stone was her apology, but again, that doesn't work because anyone else would have done that too. When Charlie had to choose between saving Anne-Marie and getting his life watch back, that was a tough decision where he ultimately made the right choice. When Puss had to choose between getting his lives back with the wish and saving the life he has with Perito and Kitty, that was a tough decision where he ultimately made the right choice. But this wasn't a tough decision. This was a no-brainer. It was the safest option for her that just happened to also be the right thing. And looking back at how many times Namari has thrown away every single opportunity to make the right choice thus far, there is no reason to believe that this is a satisfying redemption, if one at all. You might say, oh, but Evan, Namari needs to be redeemed so that the message of learning to trust people can get across. Well, hey, let's calm down. Don't worry, I actually am for redeeming Namari, just not like this. I think if I was writing the scene, I would have had her, start to lower her crossbow when Sisu is saying, I trust you, and then maybe have some soldier that was following her at the time from Fang shoot Sisu instead, which then lets you still have the fight, but then, Namari, you can tell that she actually did want to do the right thing, but through a pretty realistic reaction from someone else, Like, that sounds a little contrived, but I feel like it would be better in this case because it would make Namari more redeemable, and I also think she should have been the one to give her gem piece to Raya first. That would have let you know that she was actually trying to be better. She doesn't even need to have a scene where she deliberately breaks down and says, "I'm sorry," to redeem her. I just think that, like, doing that would have been a way better way to show that she actually does care, and they just didn't do that. You know, she kind of sort of reminds me of Mabel Pines from Gravity Falls, the series finale. Both made decisions that ultimately caused the apocalypse, both were the ones given the power to end it, and both did eventually, without directly apologizing for it. Except, while Mabel was obviously wrong to give Blendin the portal, we saw just how overwhelmingly miserable her day was up to that point in Dipper and Mabel versus the Future, especially after just finding out that Dipper won't be coming back to help her through high school, thus rationalizing her decision. Plus, she had no reason to suspect Blendin of trying to trick her, because the last time she saw him, she and Dipper got his job back and saved his life in the Blendin's Game episode. When Dipper decides to reject Ford's apprenticeship by going home with Mabel, that was also a tough decision where he made the right choice, and Mabel also made the right choice to go back with him. You know, a lot of people miss the point of this scene, but it's actually a huge growth moment not just for Dipper, but for Mabel. Throughout the series, Dipper has been trying to act older than he is, while Mabel has acted more appropriately to her age. Her deciding to leave Mabelland is the final step of her character growth, because it's her accepting that she can't always have what she wants, and that while reality may be harsh, it's better to live on and fight back with those you love rather than run away and deny it. Like a child. Imagine being a 12-year-old who is given the choice between staying in a world where every second is like living your wildest dreams to no end, and facing the often depressing hardships of living in the real world. Most people in that situation, regardless of age, would have chosen to stay in Mabelland without a second thought. Could you imagine the strength of will and maturity it took for Mabel, who's been super childish the whole series, to reject all of that and choose to go back to the real world with Dipper? It's a beautiful scene, in a beautiful episode, in a beautiful series. And it did what Raya and the Last Dragon tried to, but fails to do in the end.
We were so close! So close. We tripped at the finish line. Why? Because our little
Disney
has to go all
pro-abuser. Okay, in conclusion, did Namari deserve forgiveness? My answer is, well, in a much better story, yes. But in the main canon, we say,
no, 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 not at all!
So yeah, like, I don't know, I just think this movie was fine for the most part, was even good at times, but then, like, ruined in the end. And, like, that's just such a frustrating thing, because, like, the reason why I think this movie represents everything wrong with modern Disney is not because I think it's overall a bad movie, but because, like, it has all the makings of a great story, but they just completely messed it up in the end. Like, they had everything they needed to make something that was, like, actually almost a masterpiece, and could have even had, like, a really good political message, too. But instead, they went a little too far sniffing the abuser's farts and saying that actually they deserve your forgiveness over you, even though they literally just caused everything. What do you think of Raya and the Last Dragon? Please leave a comment below and tell me what you think. Otherwise, have a great day.